Welcome back to the channel. We're going to be hooking up a vehicle speed signal in my NA Miata. We're just going to walk through how to do that here. Now, your results may vary. I still have most of the factory plastics. This was a spec car, so you got to remove and get access to your gauge cluster. Now, however you do that, it's going to be different on my car. I just got to remove the center bezel here, and then there's only one screw holding that in, and then you can quickly pull the bezel out, as you can see. It's a very easy process on this car because the dash is actually broken, so the clips don't hold it in. I had forgotten that I had to actually wedge it up around the blinker switch a little bit, but now we're out there. Then on most cars, there's 4 screws holding this gauge cluster in. This one's only got 1. Now you'll have to watch that there's going to be a few plugs, and because mine's removed, you can see it, as well as the speedo cable on here. And you'll just want to be able to pull those items out. Now it's a little bit fickle because there's not a lot of room to reach them out, but just unplug it there and then pull out the speedo cable and you are all set to go. We're at the workbench here, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the screw I need to tap for the signal. You can tap into the wiring, or on the 1990 NA Miata, you can actually remove the screw that's labeled RSW. It's in the middle of the cluster there. Just unscrew that, and then you find an eyelet that fits, add a wire, and then run that to your speed sensor signal directly to the ECU. So that's all I'm doing here is I'm just grabbing that screw out, finding an eyelet that matches, making a wire assembly, and then we'll go back to the car and tuck it in. We're back at the car. Off camera, I finished the wire and I actually attached it to the RSW screw in the back of the gauge cluster. Probably the trickiest part of this entire job is fishing that wire across the dash. I was able to run it along the factory dash bar and down along the ECU, and you'll see in a moment here I'll be fishing it through. Then the next step I can only recommend is make sure you plug everything in before you set the gauge cluster back in place, including clocking the vehicle speed sensor plug-in correctly. There's only one way it goes. Once that's done, you can go over to the ECU and hook up to the appropriate pin, and you should be really set to go. Quick tip at the ECU is you can actually open up these pigtails at the ECU connection very easily. You just undo the little tabs at the top and bottom and you can put new pins in, and that's exactly what I did. I just added the pin as my car did not have a input for the vehicle speed sensor per the megasquirt instructions, and just plugged it right in and I was all set.
Last step, open up your megasquirt, open up your project, your latest project, connect to it, so on and so forth. I'm not connected because I'm doing this in my office here. Now, where do you find the speed settings? They're under Advanced Engine and right here at the top, Speed and Gear Sensors. Input type is going to be digital. Input is wherever you wired it. I went to digital frequency 2. Tire size is going to be based on your tire size, wheel diameter. Now I've got a 225 4515. They come in at just under 23 inches. Position type here is going to be pulse per mile. And essentially this is just where is it coming from, right? There's a lot of different options here. We're going to go pulses per mile, and then the pulses is 4,000 for the NA speed sensor type. And you want a smoothing lag factor of right around 50. Now this is going to be a middle of the road smoothing. You can adjust this if you're seeing some lag or latency issues within your speedo output. A couple other things you want to adjust is to know what gear you're in, which is very helpful. Input your final drive. I've got a 430 rear end. Input the method, which is going to be vehicle speed by RPM. This is how it picks up and decides what gear you're in, essentially. And then just give it the tables for, this is the NA tables for a 5-speed. When you're all done, hit burn and submit. Hopefully you found this informative on how to get vehicle speed sensor logging into your NA Miata. It's very simple to do. It's not going to be the most clean signal in the world, but it's cheap and effective. You just need a wire and a few setting configurations. And for those of you that are working on a Raspberry Pi Dash or something similar to I am, that's a good base point until you can get yourself a GPS sensor. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. Thank you.